This mapping diagram was drawn for the function f of x is equal to 4x, where we have x's in between 1 and 3. That means x is greater than or equal to 1 and x is less than or equal to 3. So here we see our x values from 1 to 3 inclusive of the 1 and 3. So the x values are your domain. And on this side we have our y values, which will be our range. And we know that y is equal to f of x. So our y values will also be our f of x values. So we can clearly see when we have x is equal to 1, we have f of x is equal to 4x. So f of 1 is equal to 4 times 1, which is equal to 4. And that's why we have 1 is mapped to 4. Here we see it 1 is mapped to 4. So when x is equal to 2, we have f of 2 is equal to 4 times 2. And that's how we get 8. So we have 2 is mapped to 8, 2 is mapped to 8. And when x is equal to 3, we have f of 3 is equal to 4 times 3, and we get 12. So that means 3 is mapped to 12. So here we see 3 is mapped to 12. Now the thing about the inverse function is that we switch around the arrows. So your arrows always point from domain to your range. And for the inverse function, we switch that around. So here we have the inverse of f of x. As you can see, I still have the 1, 2, 3, just like here. I still have the 4, 8, and 12, just like here. But the difference would be that the arrows are now going in the opposite direction. And your arrows must always point from domain to range. So here would become your domain, which would be your x values. And here would become your range, which is your y values. So therefore, the inverse function is obtained by interchanging your domain and range. So I just drew over the mapping diagram by putting the domain first, and then the range, and the arrows going in this direction. So this would be the same as this here. So now you can compare and see the difference between the function f of x and the inverse of f of x. So now the inverse function would be a function that maps the x value 4 to the y value 1, and maps the x value 8 to the y value 2. Now the function that will do that will be dividing x by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. So my inverse function, f inverse x, will be equal to x over 4. Now this is how we write the inverse function, f inverse x. So we have the f, which is the name of the function, and this little negative 1 power at the top to signify that is the inverse. So this negative 1 is not representing the power negative 1. It's representing the inverse of f. So let's check and see if our inverse function, x divided by 4, will give this mapping. So first up, we have when x is equal to 4. So we have f inverse 4 is equal to 4 divided by 4, which is equal to 1. So that means for the inverse function, 4 is mapped to 1, and we can see that here. Next up, we have when x is equal to 8. So we have f inverse of 8 is equal to 8 divided by 4, and that will give 2. So we've seen that 8 is mapped to 2, and we can see that here, 8 is mapped to 2. And our last x value is 12. So we have f inverse of 12 is equal to 12 divided by 4, which is equal to 3. So we have 12 is mapped to 3, which we can see here, 12 mapped to 3. So the inverse function of f of x is x divided by 4. So the main thing to take away from this is that the inverse function is obtained by interchanging the domain and range. So here we're going to look at the same function, f of x is equal to 4x, and we're going to look at a method to find the inverse function, f inverse x. Now I'm going to recall that f of x is a y value, so y is equal to f of x. So if f of x is equal to 4x, it means y is equal to 4x. So I have to find f inverse x. We will let y be equal to 4x. Then we'll interchange x and y. So that's where we interchange the domain and range. So where I have y, I'll put x, and where I have x, I'll put y. So instead of having y is equal to 4x, we'll have x is equal to 4y. So that we can see in the original question, we have y first. Now we have x first. We had 4x here, now we have 4y here. And the next step will be to transpose for y. So that means I'm going to make y the subject of the formula. So I have 4 multiplied by y. So I'm going to transfer this 4 across the equal sign, so I can get y by itself. So when this 4 goes across, the operation changes from multiplication to division. So I'll have x divided by 4. So I'll have x divided by 4 is equal to y. So therefore, f inverse x is equal to x divided by 4. So in this question, we have if g of x is equal to 2x take away 1, I want to find g inverse x. So again, we'll do the same thing. G of x would be a y value, so this would mean y is equal to 2x take away 1. G of x would be your range, which is your set of y values. Therefore, we replace g of x with y. So this will now read y is equal to 2x take away 1. So we're going to let y equal to 2x take away 1. And this little symbol here will stand for interchanging x and y. So where I have y, I'm going to put x, and where I have x, I'll put y. Then we'll transpose for y. So I have x is equal to 2y take away 1. I want to make y the subject of the formula. So first I'll transfer this negative 1 across the equal sign, and the sign in front of it will change from negative to positive. So I'll have x plus 1 is equal to 2y. Then I have 2 multiplied by y. So when I transfer this 2 across the equal sign, the operation will change from multiplication to division. So I'll have x plus 1 divided by 2 is equal to y. So therefore, my inverse function, g inverse x, is equal to x plus 1 divided by 2. So in this question I have h of x is equal to 5x plus 2 divided by x take away 1. And we want to find h inverse x. So I'll let y be equal to my function. Then I'll interchange x and y. So where I have y, I'll put x. And where I have x, I'll put y. So it doesn't matter that you have x occurring twice, you replace them with y. So I have 5y plus 2 divided by y take away 1. So notice that y occurring once, I replace it with x once. At x occurring twice, I replace it with y twice. And now I'll transpose for y. Now in order to make y the subject of the formula, in this situation, I'll want to cross multiply. So I'll put this x over 1. So I'll have x divided by 1 is equal to 5y plus 2 divided by y take away 1. So I'll multiply 1 by 5y plus 2. So that'll give me 1 open brackets 5y plus 2 close brackets. Then I'll multiply x by y take away 1. So that'll be x open brackets y take away 1. Now anytime you multiply 1 by anything, you'll just get back the same thing. So 1 times 5y plus 2 will just give you back 5y plus 2. So I'll just get back 5y plus 2 is equal to, and I multiply the x by the y, and I'll get xy, and x by negative 1, and I'll get negative x, or negative 1x. Now seeing that I want to make y the subject of the formula, and I have y occurring twice, I'll bring the y's on one side of the equal sign and factor out the y. So I'll transfer this positive xy across the equal sign, and the sign in front of it will change from positive to negative. And I'll also move this positive 2 across the equal sign, and the sign in front of it will change from positive to negative when I come across here. So what I'll have is 5y take away xy is equal to negative x take away 2. Now I'll just like to demonstrate visually how I move from this line to this line. So first I'm going to take this positive xy and transfer it across, and then I'm going to take this positive 2 and transfer it across on this side. So there you have it. You can see visually how I move from this line to this line. So now that I have my terms in y's together, I'll factor out the y. So I'll have y open brackets. I'll divide this 5y with y. So 5y divided by y will give you 5. So now I'll divide negative xy with y. So the y's will cancel and you remain with the negative x. So now I have y is being multiplied by 5 take away x. So I'll transfer this 5 take away x across the equal sign, and the operation will change from multiplication to division. So what I'll get is y is equal to x take away 2 divided by 5 take away x. So therefore, h inverse x is equal to negative x take away 2 divided by 5 take away x. Now in a function like this, if x was 5, we will have 5 take away 5 and the denominator would be 0. And therefore the function will be undefined. So therefore x cannot be 5. So let's put a comma, which means where x is not equal to 5. So here I have if fg of x is equal to x, that would mean either the function g is the inverse of the function f, or the function f is the inverse of the function g. So in this example, I've given that h of x is equal to 5x plus 2 divided by x take away 1, which is the same function up here. And we have f h of x is equal to x. We want to find what is the function f of x. So seeing that f h of x is equal to x, it means f of x is equal to h inverse x. So I have, since f h of x is equal to x, f of x is equal to h inverse x. And of course, h inverse x is equal to negative x take away 2 divided by 5 take away x. So this would be our answer for f of x for this question here. So in other words, a question like this, they just want you to find what is the inverse of this function h of x. So I'll have f of x is equal to negative x take away 2 divided by 5 take away x, where x is not equal to 5.